So today what we're going to do is we're going to continue our look at shift, but we're going to talk about how do you make an analysis? What do you need to say about shift? It is not complicated. It is 3 sentences. If you write 12 sentences, I'm going to be very sad. Right? Because what's probably going to happen is if you write too much, then you're probably going to contradict something that you've already said. And if you put a contradiction in there, then the entire piece of analysis is wrong. Okay? Even if you have it all right, and then you put in something else that contradicts what you say, you've just cost yourself the points. Right? So be careful. It is not about writing a book. Your questionnaire problems, I swear, I'm going to have back surgery carrying those things around. But this you need to be clear and to the point. All right? And so I'm going to show you some examples, some really good examples. I would, if I were you, copy and paste some of these examples. Make sure you're keeping a file or a folder or something on your OneNote or on a Word file, whatever, that demonstrates how a good sentence about shift, a good paragraph about shift looks, so that you can replicate it. Now, will you have to use your own numbers, etc.? Absolutely. But the process is going to be the same. So let's just go to the process. So here's an example. Here we have 2 graphs. We have the red numbers in red, which are the summary statistics. So you never have to guess about anything. The actual numbers are there for you. And this is a graph that was created using NZ Grapher. So this is exactly what yours will look like. Okay? All right. So here's our example. It's talking about blueberries per muffin by muffin brand. We have the 2 brands, Jenkins and Thompson's. That will be automatically loaded for you if you do this properly. The number of blueberries, that will be loaded for you. The only thing you'll have to enter is the title. Okay? It won't have a title, but you'll have to enter that. But you'll have that. It'll be the title of whatever data set we give you. Okay? So what we're going to do is write a shift section report based on this. Okay? So that's what they're going to look like. So let's look at how we can do that. So keep that in mind, what shift looks like and what the pieces are going to look like. So now that we know about shift, let's learn about how to write about it. And it's always going to be the first part of your analysis section. So I want you to label it shift. Okay? And you can also, at the same time you talk about shift, you can talk about spread. Shift, spread, same kind of idea, but shift. So you're going to state the observed shift. If there is one, do you think every set of data has one? No. If it doesn't have one, you are still going to describe shift. You will simply say, there is no observed shift. Stating what isn't there is just as important as stating what is, right? And since shift is such an important part of this analysis, if there is no shift, you need to describe that as well. So don't think that you can't write about it just because it's not there. And you'll write about it in exactly the same terms, but you'll just say it doesn't exist. Does that make sense? So be prepared. You must give evidence. Provide numbers from the summary statistics to back up this observation. So if you're comparing the 2 means, then you need to put, the medians, then you need to put those numbers in there so that you can show. Okay? And then finally, you have to relate it back to context. This shows that Jenkins always has more blueberries in it than whatever. Okay? So you have to relate it back. You don't have to get too carried away, and you're going to see examples of each of these as we go. So, state the shift, provide your evidence, and that has to have numbers in it. Don't think that you can just say, because this line is bigger than this line. That doesn't work. You need the actual values. Okay? And then and it must be related back to the context of your investigation. Right? Okay? Now, so let's look at an example about how to write shift observations. They're very straightforward. So here we go. We have the number of pens by gender. So they've polled some students and asked them how many pens they carry with them every day or have on them, and separated it comparing female and male, right? So, and here's the number of pens along the bottom, and here's all the summary statistics. here are our two graphs. And if you look at this, here's the median for one over here. The median for the other is over here. And is this median beyond one of the other quartiles? Yes. So it's showing a definite shift. Yeah? So it's showing you that the one for females is shifted to the right of the one for males. Does that make sense? Remember we looked at that? That's physically how to tell. Okay? Now let's see how we could write that up. The median value for females is shifted to the right of the median values of males. Boom. That's all I need. Now what if it had been to the left? Just say to the left. What if there had been no shift? You would say the median value for the females has no observable shift for the median value than the males. But notice a couple of things here. The median value for whom? Right? That group. The median value for whom? That group. And what is the shift? Those three things must be included. You've got to have the two groups you're talking about, and if you don't use the word median, then it's wrong. Okay? Make sense? Should look pretty good to you right now. Then the second sentence. This is where we're doing the numbers, the proof. The median value for females is 4 pens, not 4. That doesn't tell me anything. For what? In this case, 4 pens. So, again, the word median there, and for whom, and what it is, with its number. Okay? So if we were in the blueberries, 10 blueberries, or whatever. Okay? So the median value for Jenkins is 10 blueberries. These are not difficult to pull, but you've got to make sure you get it. All the information is. This is 1.5 greater than the median value for males, which is 2.5 pens. Now here's the part where it goes wrong for most students when they're doing this analysis. Greater than doesn't mean multiply. It simply means take the two values and what? Find the difference. Subtract them. All I want here, this is simply the difference between the two. And that's the difference between merit and excellence. Give the difference. If you just take the values for each one and say that they're bigger, that's merit. But if you want excellence, then you'll tell me about how much. Okay? So you might want to include that in your notes there, guys. All right? Finally, then we put it into context. This means that the median number of pens owned by females is greater than the median number of pens owned by males. And notice that phrase right there. In this sample. Because can I always say that's true? Do you think it's true for every population no matter what? No. In this particular sample, it's true. So this phrase is critically important. In this sample. Make sure you refer back to the fact that you're using a sample of the population. Terrible? Okay? That's the whole analysis right there. And again, you can copy and paste that into some document and replicate it for your data. Right? Now, it doesn't have to be written just exactly like that. Let's look at another one. In this one, they're not comparing the median shift. They're comparing the what? Quartiles. Okay? Another perfectly good example. You do not have to do both. You can do one or the other. You're just talking about shift. Here, the upper 2 quartiles of data for females is greater than the lower 3 quartiles. And we know it's shift because it's 2 and 3 makes 5, right? Which is our magic number if you want to compare that. Okay? Then it says the median value for females is 4 pens, which is 1 greater than the upper quartile for males, which is 3 pens. All right? Then this means that 50% of the females in this sample own more pens than 75% of the males in this sample. In the past, this is the one that made all the difference, because that 75% threshold is really important. You can really be confident that you're making the right decision if you get 75% of one of them is more than the other, but we're not focusing on that here. Okay? So, 2 samples, okay, that are there about these. Put them both down, all right? Understand how each one of them works. The one with the quartiles, again, might not always be true. The one with the medians might not always be true. I mean, might not be a shift. So you have to make sure that there really is a shift for them. Okay? So this particular one had a median shift and a quartile shift. Right? If someone wants to be really good and email me and ask if it has both, do you have to describe both, or is describing one enough? I'll look that up for you and check, just to make sure. Okay? If I were a betting kind of person, though, I would have them both, if they both occurred. Okay? Mention them both. Here we go. And look at, and this is what I was talking about, how I love this because they talk about it. Here's what it's going to say. Observation about the median shift. In other words, this is what we're going to use as the grading criteria. So you gave an observation. The median value for females is shifted to the right of the median value for males. That's your observation. Then there must be evidence backing up the median shift observation. Right? And then finally, you have to relate that median shift observation back to the context of the investigation. I think these descriptors are much more clear than the ones that we've been seeing. Some of them have been kind of fuzzy. Right? Observation about a significant shift, portion shift, evidence backing up this shift, and relating back to what that means. Okay? So you see how clearly that they've defined each one. Is good? All right, so you have it there. So I'm going to get you guys to look at one. So here we go. For example, here we have blueberries per muffin by muffin brand. Number of blueberries, Jenkins and Thompson's. You have the stats of here because if you look at this median for the upper one and this upper quartile for that one, is it really easy to see which one of they look almost the same, don't they? But you can always look here because this is the median for that one. The median is 4, and the upper quartile for the second one is right there, is also 4. So if in doubt, look at the numbers and you can see. So if those two things are the same, do they indicate shift? No. Okay? But look at the upper quartile here and the maximum here. Yeah? So there is shift here. So if the values from the graph, if it's difficult to see.
If it's the same, that's not a shift.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a quartile shift, but not a median shift.
Right, the medians are not shifted. Okay, yes, exactly. Well, here, this is the median for this, actually. This is the upper quartile. Now, but this median, this median is not above the upper quartile.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're equal. That means that's not a median shift.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so if in doubt, go back to the numbers and you can see more clearly. So let's look at what they wrote. You're going to get lots of practice doing this because you're going to have a homework on this. All right. One possible shift section. The median values is shifted to the right of the median value for Thompson's. It's exactly equal. It's right on it. I would have said no shift, but clearly, if they're saying it is equal to them, that's fine. Look at the description and how they say it. I wouldn't have said that because it's not one quartile above. It's exactly the same, but they're saying that's still one quartile above. So,
I mean, but it's technically exactly one quartile above, right? Because it's
yeah.
the same as the other quartile.
Yeah. it's one. It's I don't like it because it's the same, but it's all right. I'm not the one who gets to decide what's happening on this. Y'all are, so make sure that you pay attention to it. So it is. They are exactly equal. So they're saying that's one quartile above. If those two are equal, our other definition said that it had to be above one quartile, but if it's exactly equal, they're saying that that's one above. So okay, we'll go with it. The median value for Jenkins is shifted to the right of the median value for Thompson's. The median value, so that tells you, that's your first piece that you have to have, saying, is there a shift? The median value for Jenkins is 4 blueberries, right? We got that from looking at the statistics here. The median value for Jenkins is 4, okay? This is 1 greater than the median for Thompson's, which is 3 blueberries. Their median is 3, okay? Right? So here you go. We need median value. We need for whom. We need how much it is. We need greater than or less than if it's the shift in the other direction. Median value, for whom, and how many. So that's the numerical evidence. And then finally, the last thing is you must relate it back to the context. And so it says this means that the median number of blueberries per muffin for Jenkins is greater than the median number of blueberries per muffin for Thompson's. And what? In this sample. Don't include it at your own peril. Okay? You must mention it. Right? So if they are the same, they're still counting that as 1 quartile above. Now, if there's one tiny bit of difference below, then no. Has to be at least equal. Right? Now they continue to talk about the other one. The upper quartile of data for Jenkins is greater than 100% of the data for Thompson's. So look back at the graphs and see here. Here is the upper quartile of the data for Jenkins, right? Here is where all of the data, the maximum for the Thompson's ends. So this upper quartile is greater than 100% of the data from this one. Do you agree? Okay, so the upper quartile for Jenkins is 6 blueberries, which is 1 greater than the maximum for Thompson's, which is 5 blueberries. So when you're talking about median shift, you're talking about the same exact value. When you're talking about quartile shift, you need to name which quartile and what relationship. This means that 25% of Jenkins data in this sample is greater than 100% of the Thompson data in this sample. Okay? All right. Let's see if that gives a minute. So now you know what to do. You need the observation. State the shift. Then your evidence with numbers. And you can get the numbers from your summary statistics. You don't even have to read the graph. Just look at your summary statistics and compare the two medians. Or get the numbers for the medians. Don't make your comparison there, but get the numbers for the two medians. And then in context, relate it back. If you don't answer that question, then you're going to be in trouble. Sound easy enough? You've got your examples. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do you an Education Perfect assignment. You still need to be writing in your books. Do not just think you can, you could type these into your Education Perfect if you want to, but really writing them would be a better choice. All right?